Hi, hello everyone. My name is Lauren and I am a fourth year Jet, currently here in Japan. I'm about to be on my fifth year. I'm about to become a unicorn. I'm about to ascend to my final form and do things with rainbows. As you can see in the back, I've already amassed multiple rainbows, if you will. I'm originally from the United States. I'm originally from the good old southern state of North Carolina, and I just have this feeling that as much as I love my hometown, as much as I really miss America in a lot of ways, I think I'm gonna be a perpetual expat here in the Japan. I'm here to talk to you about three whole things. Number one, I want to talk about my placement, which is Yamanashi. And number two, I'm going to talk about my work experience, which happens to exclusively be in elementary school. Sorry that I can't talk about junior high school, but I don't teach there. It's all little kids all the time, and it's really fun. The last thing I'm going to spend some time talking about is how I spend my free time on Jet. Jet is a job, Jet is an experience, it is cultural exchange, but you do have some time off, and I would love to talk about how that you get to use that time in a way that brings you joy, hopefully, and maybe sparks joy in the lives of others. So without further ado, I want to get started. Let's trying. So let's get to talking about my placement. I wasn't actually expecting to love my placement as much as I do, but here I am hoping I can stay in Yamanashi after my Jet contract ends. If we hearken back to years long past, when I was but a wee babe, unwise in the ways of Japan and the world, I didn't request any prefecture, actually. I was just like, please, just take me, put me in the Japan. I didn't have any desire to be near the big three, so like Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. I was just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Please, just take me, put me in the Japan. Because I came in speaking like N2 level Japanese, so I was expecting to just be like, have the Claire just throw a dart at a dartboard and be like, okay, mountains of somewhere, maybe the Izu Islands off the coast of Tokyo, like it just misses Honshu, and it's just like, hello, let's put you in the middle of the ocean. I was expecting that level of countryside, and I was pleasantly surprised that Yamanashi is not that. Like, Yamanashi is very countryside. Like, I can't walk into the grocery store, or just like a store in general, and be like, hello, English, 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 and expect for English, 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 English to come back at me. It's gonna be a deer in the headlights, Chocho a minute, and then they're gonna go run and get someone who speaks English, or they're gonna go grab their phone and do Google Translate. So our level of English is very low, so Japanese really does come in handy in the countryside. I really like how Yamanashi strikes a good balance of countryside while still being close to the city. Like, we have Kofu down the road if you go driving 40 minutes, or you take a train for 20 minutes. I don't feel super isolated. Tokyo in that direction, 2 hours by express train, and I can be in good old Shibuya, I can be in Shinjuku, and party if that was your thing. It's not really my thing. I am a mountain hermit. Like, my friends would be like, Lauren, do you want to go hang out? And I'd be like, no. Literally hiking in the mountains right now. I'm not super bored either out here, so I haven't really considered taking up farming. I mean, I could. Maybe I should. The apocalypse is coming. Maybe I should take it into consideration. I don't know. My apartment, which I'm currently in, this is just the bedroom. My BOE chose it. It was my predecessor's apartment. I paid money for it. I currently live here. I'm not super close to the station. I'm within walking distance. I'm used to walking a lot, so like 20 minutes doesn't feel like a lot to me. Maybe it does to you. But I'm a 20-minute walk from the station, which means that it's pretty quiet around my area in general. There's like peach orchards and grape farms just like all around me, so it's like really nice and quiet. It's great for walking or just like getting out and enjoying the peace and quiet of the countryside, but I'm not too far from the train. Oh, something about living in the farmland in the countryside that a lot of people don't really think about, but you definitely should, is be careful when you hang your laundry out, because like the people who work in the farms here, they'll just like decide, okay, it's time to burn all the dry brush that I've collected from my orchard or the things I've pruned, and I'm just gonna like throw it in a hole and burn it for like 2 hours. If you hang your laundry outside at the same time Yamanaka-san decides to burn all of his field trash, your clothes are gonna come in smelling like smoke, and that's a thing I learned the hard way. So it's very livable. Like, Japan is an excellent country to live in. There's another ALT in the mountains the next town over where their closest grocery store, so it's like the next town over, it's a different town from mine. They live up in the mountains, and their closest grocery store is the one I go to. 10 minutes from my house, 35 minutes from theirs by car. Like, You can have a mixed bag of placements, but I was very lucky with my placement. Yamanashi is mountainous, very mountainous, so in the winters we do get cold, like the wind blows down from the mountains and we get some snow. I have to drive to work in that snow. I have to make sure that my tires and my car is maintained and snow-proofed in the winter. So when it snows, like in North Carolina, if it snows, everything shuts down. No, we just don't leave the house. We must buy bread. We must buy soup. But here it's like, oh, like Lauren Sensei, please be careful, but come to school. It's different from your hometown, I'm sure. You might have to alter your schedule if you look at the weather channel and be like, oh no, it's going to snow. I'm gonna wake up 10 minutes early so that I can scrape the snow off my car and like make sure my engine's running and stuff, and then be able to get to work on time. Spring will be fleeting this year, I'm certain. Japanese summer is on its way. It's just ready. It's excited to come and ruin your day. The Kofu Basin, which I live in, is one of the hottest regions in Japan. It's also why we can have all of these wonderful fruits and grapes and stuff. Come stop by. Have some of our produce. Yo, it's great. Haha, shameless plug. If you are like me and you're an American from the South, maybe it won't feel too much different from what you're used to, IG living hell. In North Carolina, it gets up to like, if you're thinking in Fahrenheit, like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you add the humidity on top of it, like it's hot. In Japan, it's just very much like, hello. You're basically swimming in the air that you are walking through. And Japanese businesses and residences don't really air condition as much as maybe you're used to. South's only saving grace in the summer is that we use the air conditioner very liberally and we drink like gallons of sweet tea in a day. Oh, I miss sweet tea. In Japan, please drink lots of liquids and maybe just bring a towel. Just like use it to wipe off your body. Good luck in the summer heat. Let's take it over to Lauren Clone 2, same person, to talk about. Let's talk about my job, because I have one. JET is my job. I'm an ALT assistant language teacher. So I was hired by my contracting organizations to work at 5 different elementary schools. So Monday I go to school A, Tuesday I go to school B, Wednesday I go to school C, Thursday C, Friday D, and then the week is over, the weekend happens, and then I start all over again. It is a merry-go-round of an assignment. I also came in knowing 0 things about the Japanese education system and about teaching English as a foreign language in general. I came in like with tutoring experience. I speak English, and hopefully, and I know most of the rules why, and then I was placed in elementary school, so it's like you don't need to know all of the rules of English to teach elementary school level English. And most of you guys come in knowing 0 things about anything about, especially the Japanese education system, and then they just kind of throw you off the deep end and be like, hello, let's go teaching! No orientation can prepare you for that. You're gonna learn on the fly. If you have a good SDC, maybe you will get some information that you need later on in September or October, but it's gonna be a little bit of a trial by fire. It's okay to just want to pterodactyl screech before every lesson because you're so nervous and worried if everything's gonna go all right. Chances are it's not. Don't worry, you're gonna suck. Okay, so when I first started, sorry, just like, you're gonna suck. Let's change the subject. Like, it's okay, I'll explain. But when I first showed up here, at the time, English was not a subject. Most of you guys coming in this year, English is gonna be a subject for 5th and 6th grade. But for me, everything was just foreign language activities, which means it doesn't really matter what happens in the classroom so long as English is tangentially involved, which is good that the expectations were low, but bad because no expectations means that you have no guidelines for what to do. I floundered. What do? For maybe 4 months? I just kind of sucked. Just trying to figure out, like, writing a lesson plan. What do? How I'm working with my teachers, trying to build relationships with my students while also trying to get used to a life in a country that I've only ever lived in, like, for a year. What, my first 4 months were bad. They were not good. Even if you come in prepared with a teaching degree, or at least with like some TEFL training or like some sort of idea of what you're doing, you're gonna flounder, I think. The environment is different, the kids are different, you're teaching with new people who are operating in an education system that you don't really know. Language barrier, culture barrier. It's gonna be hard, and it's okay. Culture shock is a thing. We all will struggle with the transition, and it's okay to not be okay. You will be okay, but it's okay to not be okay at the start. We're human. And I think that's something that's really important to remember when you're first getting started here. If you have the time and the motivation, I would recommend studying some good basic topics for TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language, so that you kind of have some tools and you have a way to look critically at your own lesson plan, so that what comes out, you can then look at it and be like, oh, this isn't good, or I want it to go like this because of XYZ theory supporting your lesson plan. So I was aimed at elementary school, so I had to work with very developmentally just still very young, like first graders, second graders, who are still just like, what is this? What is this three-dimensional place I'm currently occupying? I'm 7. Anyway, so some terms maybe for TEFL, teaching theory that you'd want to know that you can Google. Backward design, so you want your lessons to be designed backwards, have a final goal in mind, and then work small steps up to that final goal. Scaffolding is a concept that a teacher should know. PPP, presentation, 3P presentation, presentation of information. So when you're presenting new information in a foreign language, you want to have 3 stages: presentation, preparation, and production. Google it. Also, focus on input to output flow with your lessons. Google it. And if you want me to go into these in more detail, I'm trying really hard not to. Request a video, or send me a message, or maybe I'll just make one and post it to the internet. You'll know when you know. I don't know. Google it. So let's say you're like me and you are teaching in the elementary school. You're working with tiny humans with boundless energy, and the teachers are too tired to really do anything about it. You can see I have a personality that's very energetic. If you don't, elementary school might be hard. You're gonna have to alter your natural state of being for a little bit at work. Good luck. I think it's possible. I love elementary school. It's brought me so much joy, and I've learned so much just from the children themselves, teaching me just about life and just being a person and all of that. It's a really joyful experience being in elementary school. A lot of the ALTs that I've talked to, it's their favorite place to be. Chances are you will be teaching with homeroom teachers mainly. You might have a JTE as well. I'll get into the JTE ALT dynamic later. In my experience, most JETS placements mix junior high school with elementary school. So you'll be going to a junior high school, that'll be your base school, and then you'll visit an elementary school on a Friday or on a Wednesday, maybe more often. But you won't be at elementary school every day of the week, like me, I think. However, with English becoming a subject in April, the chances of you getting an all elementary school placement are higher, I believe. This is uncharted territory for literally everyone involved, the Japanese government included, so don't expect things to be super organized when you first arrive. If you can, make name tags for every student in every class, and then they can just have this English name tag box for the 3rd grade class that they keep in the 3rd grade classroom, and then an English name tag box for the 2nd grade class that they keep in the 2nd grade classroom, etc., etc. And you can make them, or you can use your self-introduction lesson that you get at the beginning of the year to do your own self-introduction and be like, okay, so Lauren Sensei has done her self-introduction, now it's your turn, and hand them the name tag, be like, please write your name in English. The homeroom teacher can help you. You can give them just a piece of paper that says, please copy, this is your name in English now. There are ways to do it so that it feels natural to you, that it's not a lot of work, or that it doesn't take up too much class time, but stand up for yourself and your right to know your students' names and who you're talking to. I think it's really important, and it helps you build a connection with the students as well, because you can then call their name and they'll be like, oh yes, Lauren Sensei, what do you want to talk about? So names aside, I had on average 4 classes a day, so that means 4 classes is 4 teachers, 4 homeroom teachers to meet with in the morning before first period starts. Catching a homeroom teacher is very difficult. I recommend doing it swiftly and not worrying about the consequences if they're talking with someone else. Dada Sensei, please talk to me. And they'll be like, Choto, a minute, let me talk to Dada Sensei, I'll come to you. Read the air to some extent, just watch them and be like, oh, they're really into this conversation with the principal, maybe I should wait. But also stand up for yourself and be like, hello, I must talk to you about the English. And they'll be like, yes, English, good, let's doing. So I had to meet with and work with 20 teachers in a week. So 20 teachers, like so many children as well. Anyway, it's a shit ton of people to teach with. Each teacher is a different person. They're people with different skill sets, different experiences, different levels of English from 0 to I like basketball and you, different levels of motivation, and nobody really knew what to tell me. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know what to ask, and nobody knew what to tell me, so it was just very hard at the beginning with communication. And in the end, while I was being like, the expectation was for me to be team teaching with this homeroom teacher. A lot of the times the homeroom teachers were too busy to lesson plan in English with me, and it all ended up falling on my plate. So it was my job to write the lesson plans, prepare the materials, and then bring it to class and teach the lesson. It ended up falling all on my plate to just do all of that. HRTs supported me however they could, usually. Most of the time they were just there in the classroom, and so I was T1 teaching, number 1 teacher, and they were T2 supporting. So if the kids got rowdy or out of hand or didn't understand anything, they would step in and either translate, which you don't want in an English class, or they would come in and be like, Haruto, be a good boy, and like scold the kids if I needed it. Be like a character in one of my skits where I was showing kids how to do things. Team teaching is just, it's gonna be different depending on who you teach with, and a lot of the times in elementary school, the main burden falls on the ALT, and we have a lot to do. But there's hope, because for me in my situation, 2 years ago, everything changed when the Senka system attacked. The Senka system is actually just a fancy way of saying JTE. Master has bequeathed Lauren a JTE. I was so happy to have just like one touch point for all 5 of my schools, for all 20 of my classes in the week. I would have one teacher, and we were a pair. I had students literally ask me like, Lauren Sensei, are you and Dada Sensei a married couple? And I would be like, no. And he would be like, I'm married to someone else, excuse you. It was great. It was so much easier to team teach because we could team teach our classes together. So we would teach like a 5th grade class Monday, and then we teach the same 5th grade class on Tuesday, and we could make it better. Our flow would be better. We'd be able to communicate like non-verbally. So be like, oh yeah, like Lauren says it, please go do this thing. Like, oh, like you did that on Monday, like come on in and do it again, kind of thing. I wasn't having to adjust to a new teacher literally every 45 minutes. I have like one class with teacher A and then second period class with teacher B, and they're just different people, different styles. It was really a lot of work, and then I could just team and pair up with one person. He had the same schedule as I did, so I didn't have to like catch him in the hallways as he's going to class, be like, come back, we must talk about English, because he sat right next to me and we could talk in English about the lesson plans. I'm in a unique situation where my JTE is very gung-ho about ALTs, and he also understood and respected that I had this 2-year history already of writing my own lessons and doing all of the work. So I took the helm planning lessons, and then he would come in with his feedback because he was a professional, he's a JTE, he has experience teaching English, and be like, oh no, I think this is better, and I'd be like, okay, cool, feedback taken, and we would communicate, and he would explain his reasons why, I would explain why I thought my lesson plan was better. It was very communicative, it was very like a team effort of writing lesson plans. That's very unique. That's my situation, and I don't think that'll be your situation because I have this experience of teaching English already for 2 years, just on my own, figuring out, flying by the seat of my pants. For most JTE ALT situations, you will only be utilized in the classroom as much as you volunteer to be utilized. So you have to be proactive and say like, hey, Dari Sensei, Dari Mr. Teacher, can I do this game? Or can we do this activity? Or I noticed that we're doing this grammar point, I have prepared this slideshow or something. A lot of your teachers aren't used to or comfortable teaching with an ALT because the T1, T2 system, and for the most JTEs, they are T1, and T2 is just kind of like, if they're there, cool, if they're not, whatever. And they're more used to you not being there. It will err on the side of underutilization, which can feel real shitty, feel really icky if you're not used to that, or if you're like, hey, I have feeling. It's a process, and you'll have to communicate your wants and your needs and your abilities to your teacher. I highly recommend just talking to them, chatting with them, shooting the breeze. We have new textbooks that we get to teach. They're pretty sweet. They're pretty swanky. Your students will probably come in already like a couple of chapters into the textbook. I really dig it. Your traction may vary. There's some parts of the textbook where I'm just like, why did you do this? This is not, Anyway, that's for you and your JTE to work out. I will be team teaching with homeroom teachers. A mix of homeroom teachers and my JTE. So my homeroom teachers I'll be teaching with 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, and then 4th, 5th, and 6th grade will be me and my JTE tag teaming it again. Your ratio may differ. The way your JTE approaches lesson planning may be different. So I encourage you to be proactive in building a communicative relationship with your JTE and your HRTs. Don't forget to talk to them. They're people too. They're your coworkers. You're gonna be teaching with them. Talk with the people you work with is very important. It's called team teaching for a reason. That's my motto. Not a lot of Japanese people get it. Some ALTs don't get it. It's team teaching for a reason, and it takes 2 to tango. So if you're looking at an uncommunicative JTE, or just like if you're trying to work with someone and one party is uncommunicative, things fall apart. Break those barriers. If you are experiencing communicative barriers with your JTE, break them, get over them, alter them before they become too solidified. Otherwise, you will be miserable and you can't really do your job. All right, I've talked a lot. I have one last thing I want to talk to you about, and it's your students. You will be interacting mostly with your students. Something I really want to encourage all ALTs to do at all grade levels. It doesn't matter if you're high school, junior high school, elementary school, or preschool. Please build a relationship with your students. That's the first step to teaching. And I know it's common sense, and I know I'm speaking probably to people who are like, yeah, of course, like that makes sense because there's 20 of them in the classroom and 1 of me. The ratio of student to teacher it's mostly students. Like, yes, correct. But talk to them. I encourage any language. I speak to my kids in Japanese. I make jokes in Japanese. If the gods smile upon me and something hits my funny bone and I'm feeling giggly, I don't know, I'll make a joke and try to make my kids laugh, but in Japanese, like if you can make jokes in English, that's also really cool. I really respect people who can have a conversation with their students in English. If you can, play with them outside. Like I play soccer with my kids outside. It's so much fun. Wander the hallways during break times. I've wandered into a 1st grade classroom and they're all playing with tops or like doing like cat's cradle with string, and they're like, oh, Lauren Sensei, do you know cat's cradle? And I'm like, I pretend not to, and then I like do Jacob's ladder. They're like, what the? Oh my god! Like 7-year-olds, but anyway. Just interact with them. Help them with cleaning time. The teachers also really like this. If they see you walking around with a broom, just like helping the kids, like the teachers be like, ah, yes, good job, Lauren Sensei, extra points. For your kids, you are their 1 interaction a week or whatever with someone from a different country. The impression they make of you now in their school children days will be the impression they have of most, if not all, foreigners for the rest of their lives. Making yourself personable and approachable, even if it doesn't come naturally, I think is really important. You're coming into the JET program with the title of cultural ambassador. Part of this is you might have to step out of your comfort zone and just talk to so many people that you don't know. Your kids will be shy and honestly slightly terrified of you, as I'm sure you are of them. Break that wall before it solidifies. Like with your JTs, children can smell fear, and you are the adult in the situation. So if they're afraid and you're afraid and the kids are like, oh no, they're afraid, they'll just like skitter away like, no. Instead, I encourage you to set an example for how you want your kids to interact with you, because you are the adult in the situation. You are the one who has achieved personhood. Like you have done all of the hard work of becoming a human, and your kids are still learning that. So instead of being nervous and uncomfortable, just be like, hey, sup, like whatever, like make your existence not something that's far away and removed from them, but like make it like close where they just can be like, oh hey, Lauren Sensei, sup, and I like give kids a high five. I'm like, yo, Takashi, make sure you're studying. Anyway, but building relationships with your students is really important. If you're personable and approachable, half of the work for a good English class is put in before the actual lesson starts. If your kids don't like you, if they're afraid of you, if they don't trust you, they aren't gonna listen to you, they aren't gonna want to be vulnerable and interact with you in a language they barely speak. So part of being a teacher is also first and foremost being a person that your kids can trust. Soapbox, get off of it. Anyway, enough about work. You'll burn that bridge when you come to it. You will cross that bridge when you burn it. Good luck. Last thing I'm gonna talk about is the fun shit. Maybe I shouldn't say curse words. I've been cursing a lot in this video. The last thing I'm gonna talk about is the fun stuff. I think, yep, I have hobbies. I do stuff in my downtime. For example, back in North Carolina, I was a runner, so I would run 10Ks, half marathons. I would just run a 5K in the morning to wake myself up. And so when I first moved here, I signed up for some half marathon races. I signed up for some 10Ks. I totally recommend it if you're into running, like long distance. They even have 5Ks. You have to sign up like a couple of months in advance. Anyway, in my second year, I made a friend with an ALT who lived in my town, and we both decided to go rock climbing. Like, there's a gym 10 minutes from my house and a gym 30 minutes from my house. Like, there's rock climbing to do, and it's so fun. Yamanashi is a rock climber's paradise, actually. They have tons of outdoor climbing, which is really exciting. Anyway, so I go 2 to 3 times a week, and I do bouldering and lead climbing, and it really helped connect me with a community not only of just like my friends, but also like the Japanese people in the gym, because if you go on the same day every week, you'll tend to be going also with the same people that usually go on Tuesdays, like your Tuesday regular gym goer. And so like I've made friends, and like we go climbing outside together, and it's really fun. And I became ripped. Not really, but I do have biceps now. I'm a strong, independent young individual who can lift heavy things. Yamanashi is also home to the best view of Mount Fuji this side of New Edo. Don't let Shizuokans fool you, because Yamanashi is the best side of Mount Fuji. Hands down. My hands are down. That's the truth. Yep. So when I first moved here, my goal was to climb Mount Fuji my first year. So in the summer, like I arrived in the summer and I was like, okay, 1 year from now, I will climb that mountain that I can see from my house, actually. I did a lot of training hikes on the weekends of like other mountains in Yamanashi. There's tons of mountains in Yamanashi. We're Yamanashi prefecture. We have so many mountains. My first try climbing Mount Fuji, my mom came along with me, and so we hiked up to the top of Mount Fuji and came back down, and that was really exciting. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much that the year after that, my father came to visit me in Japan, and both of us climbed up to the top and back down of Mount Fuji a second time. But wait, there's more. Last year, because I'm a Mount Fuji fanatic at this point, last year I climbed up Mount Fuji, but this time I did it from like the bottom. Because like you usually start from 5th station, I just started from elevation, like the temple at the base of the mountain, went up to the top and then back down to 5th station, and that was really fun, and I stayed the night and I could see the sunrise. Anyway, climb Mount Fuji, it's great. Climb from the Yamanashi side because it's the best side. I've also taken up skiing in the winter, I've taken up camping in the summer. As for hobbies, the sky is the limit, really. Literally, the sky is the limit. They have paragliding here, if that's a thing that you're into. Parasailing, I should say. Haven't seen paragliding, you probably could. There's so much you can do here, and it doesn't have to be outdoors. I'm just very outdoorsy as a person. I encourage you to use your free time and get out there and try something new, try a new hobby. It doesn't have to be outdoors. It can be indoors or culturally centered, like tea ceremony. You can do flower arranging, you can do calligraphy. If you are really into like that kind of aspect, like check into your local cultural center or maybe your library. They'll usually have like weekly or monthly classes available that you can pay for like 40 bucks a month for like a weekly lesson in tea ceremony, which I know we have at my cultural center. We also have calligraphy. There's Zen meditation at a temple down the road. I don't remember if you have to pay money for it, but you do have to show up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and I haven't been able to wake up for it yet. There's so many opportunities for you to connect with your local Japanese community and to learn something new in the process. There's so much to do and see, so don't lock yourself in your apartment if you don't have to. Current events aside, currently not locked alone in my apartment. Anyway, you need a community outside of just your ALT community, outside of your community of people back home that I'm sure you're talking to and you want to keep in touch with. If you're in a countryside placement, chances are your ALT friends will also be spread out, and it might be hard to get together and hang out sometimes. Having positive and regular interactions with the locals, with Japanese people, will boost your morale and be like, oh yes, I can gambaru, I can do my best to the weekend. And you might learn things about your area or about your prefecture or about just people in general. Like you might be like, oh wait, I didn't know Haruto's mom was a tea ceremony master. The what? What the what? And it's an opportunity to make connections and do cool things, so I recommend it. So that's about it for my little talk. It was so long, I'm not looking forward to editing this. If I had to sum up what I think is important, I'd boil it down to these 3 points. Number 1, Your placement is what you make of it. I really like mine, you might not, but you can make it a place that you enjoy. Prepare yourself for what you're not used to, and you can make the best of a new or difficult situation, like learning how to drive in the snow. I feel really cool now, because I know if I go back home, I'd be like, oh yeah, what? Our tires are stuck in the snow? Nah, I could handle it. I know the rock method. I could do like the gas and the stop the gas. And anyway, sorry. Number 2, about work. Your teachers will only use you as much as you volunteer to be used. Be proactive and talk to your coworkers. Build relationships with your coworkers as best you can, as well as your students. Be important. Please don't forget. Number 3, last one. Find a hobby to keep you busy and involved in a community. It will brighten your day. Maybe you can learn some Japanese. It'll be fun. Make the most of your time here, because some of you guys might only be here for a year. Some of you guys might be here for 5 years. Some of you guys might be like me and just like be here forever. I believe in us. When I first left on JET, I had to give a speech to my departing group at pre-orientation. I know, it was scary. And my message hasn't really changed since then. After 4 years on the JET program, my message was this, basically, in a nutshell. We, the JET community, are our own greatest asset. Building a community, getting involved with the people around you. If you can do these things, you will be able to do even greater things than you could have ever dreamed of just doing alone. We are global ambassadors in an increasingly globalized world. So instead of focusing on cultural differences, which are very interesting, instead of focusing on like the other that we see in people who are not ourselves, I believe we should focus on the togetherness that comes with sharing our lives and experiences with the people around us. And that we should remember that we're all the same human beings. We're all human beings. And we can accomplish so much more when we decide to work together to lift each other up. And when we decide to look past the differences and instead look at what makes us like each other. Anyway, thanks. That's all I got for now. I hope you have a pleasant day. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Peace. Oliver out. My name isn't Oliver. Goodbye. I had my laptop in my lap the whole time. You did not know this. You cannot see it. Look at the script. It's 5 pages long. It's way too long. Oh, I don't want to edit this. Oh wait, say hello. Say hello to Cognac. He's a long boy. He's a dog.